What's up, brother?
What's happening, man? How's it going?
Good. How you doing, man? Bright and early, I see.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, I don't mind. I got really used to getting up early when I was doing construction stuff, and like it didn't seem like any reason not to continue doing it. Like I don't have much else going on in my life out here, so like why not? You know?
Hey,
Um,
man, there's nothing wrong with it. Then you have the rest of your day to do stuff, you know?
yeah. Well, the early to bed, early to rise was something that my dad always, what would he say? He'd say early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Um, but that's my dad um, gets up at I don't know 3:30, 4 o'clock every morning, and he's always been like that. And
That's
then
old school.
yeah, yeah. Now he works in like the Nashua, New Hampshire area for BAE. Um, so he drives like a solid hour and some change to work every day,
Oof.
which although he was telling me he loved Corona, like the early stages when there was nobody on the road, like people weren't doing stuff. He was like, I got to work in 45 minutes. There's no traffic at all. But
That's that generation, man. You shave 5 minutes off your drive, your week is good.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But no, my
Hey,
own is funny.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Are you gonna set up an LLC?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Because eventually, like right now, I'm like, people are paying me $10 here and there, or like whatever. I'm not that concerned about it. But once I start doing in-person classes and once I've got a little bit more going on, I'm gonna need to make sure that I'm covering myself. Right now, I don't have any real liability, and I don't, I'm not really making that much money. Like, the transactions that uh, are happening over Venmo and PayPal are pretty small, and like not that worried about anybody catching me for tax stuff over what hasn't even really amounted to more than a couple $100 at this point. I paid for my logo, I think, so far, which is cool. That wasn't an out-of-pocket expense.
That's
But
good.
but I do need to set up an LLC. I don't know that much about it, but one of my concerns was what state I set it up in, because one, I'm not staying in California. Two, I'm not starting a business in California, period. Fuck this state right its ass. I have to pay them taxes on my income, but I wouldn't if I could. This place sucks balls. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know if that's something that I would set up if like I would set it up as being in California, then I'm gonna wait.
I think you could set it up anywhere. I know when I set up mine, I did decide to set it up in New York just because I knew that's where I was at. But I know there's some places where you could like set it up in Baltimore, I think, and it's recognized in all of this,
Yeah.
and it's good to do it ahead of time, just because like I did mine when it was a wing and a prayer. I was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna start teaching, and I'll be a subcontractor.
Right.
And the first, I think 4 out of 5 years, you can claim a loss, which is great for taxes. Like I wrote off my trip to the Philippines.
Yeah.
I'd go to Cali and I train with people, so I'm like, well, that's a business expense. I'm improving, so
Right.
if you look at it in that aspect, when you're ready to start writing stuff off, I would probably say like 6 months ahead of time, just get the ball rolling,
Mhm. That's good
and it
advice.
was like, I think it was like 650
Yeah.
total,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you
That's
got, I
not
go to
bad.
New York, I have to, every 2 years, I have to do something, but
Mhm.
it is what it is, but it's a good little shelter for tax at first.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good advice. I might think about just doing it now then instead of one up in Massachusetts. I still have I haven't become a California resident yet. I'm gonna probably have to, which I was kind of trying not to, but yeah, it's early enough in the year that maybe now's the time to do it. That
Yeah.
might be it. I can use my parents' address back home. I've been using that for a lot of things for a long time anyway. Like, yeah, that's where I live. My
And
mom every now and again will be like, somebody's looking for you. I'm like, I bet they're not. If they're anyone who should be looking for me, they wouldn't have that address.
no,
Just tell them
well,
I'm dead.
there's LegalZoom, and what I did with them is I paid them like 130 a year,
Yep.
and they set up like a in case like there's like just in case like I get sued or whatever, and I get served with papers. Officially, it goes to like a lawyer, and then they contact me. So I have like that set,
Little
thing.
buffer. Yeah.
Yeah. So look through that in LegalZoom. I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, you know what, you're probably, if you haven't already, you're at that point where you should be looking at that.
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Legal
And it's
Zoom
nice
is
to have,
probably what I would use anyway. What's that?
I said it's nice to have your own company.
Yeah. Right. Like, I own my own company.
I'm a man of the industry.
I'm a man of industry. Yeah, exactly.
No, but the tax write-off is nice though, dude. Like especially like,
Okay.
I go out to dinner with people, and this is some real gray area shit. But they're like, no, I was like, no, I got it. I was like, it's a business expense. They're like, how so? I was like, hey, you want to take lessons from me? They're like, no. And I'm like, you sure? Come on, you should take lessons from me. They're like, no. I was like, all right, I tried business expense.
Yeah.
Like
We
I said,
used to we used to do that when we'd go have breakfast. We'd sit down and somebody would go, sprinklers. Everybody would look up, go, sprinklers. And then breakfast is covered.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, this
Wow.
coffee is not strong enough.
Yeah, right. Some days I feel like it's never strong enough. I mean, I'm in Fresno. Your stimulant level can continue to go up as much as you'd like here. you know, like coffee's not enough. Go get a Bang Energy. The Bang Energy is not enough. I bet you the guy working at the convenience stores got a little bit of something else.
Just wake you right up, sir.
Cocaine's not enough for you? Well, we've got meth too. Here you go. Next, Walter White's in the back cooking it up. Yeah, man, the Fresno tweaker is its own animal, and while I'm going to be very glad to have seen the end of them, it's interesting to see in real life. Like, you expect meth heads to all just kind of be the skinny, bad teeth, like twitchy freaks, which, oh yeah, that's like a lot of them. It's a lot of them. But people that are like real hardcore meth heads, like they don't look as like, there's guys in construction that like are fat and addicted to meth, and you're like, how the fuck does that work? Like, I thought you couldn't eat. But yeah, no, if it's like part of your consistent routine, because like some people can't function, some people are like, they become just like horrible twitchy drug addicts. But if you're functional, yeah, I mean, you stay up all night doing weird shit because you don't have anything else to do, and it eats your brain. Like, it makes you paranoid, and they think there's like shit under their skin. They'll like be picking at their nails or whatever all the time. But yeah, there's some pretty functional meth heads, which I'm mildly impressed by. Because that it's a hell of a drug. Because you see the ones, most of them aren't functional. Most of them are the like meth mouth, skinny, like that type. You know what I mean? And just walking around ranting and raving to themselves at all times. This girl would come into, we finally kicked her out, but would come into the barbecue joint, and she'd come in and she'd want like, she would say an ounce of meat, but we do like these 2 ounce, like if you want to put extra meat on something, you know, these 2 ounce portions, and she'd come in and she'd just dump a bunch of change on the thing and start counting it out and talking to herself, talking to the change, picking up like dimes and shit and looking at them real close, and then like putting the one in her pocket and go. It was always a scene, and like she'd come in with this guy who, he seemed a little more lucid, but like he understood that she stood a better chance of getting like a little bit more or something like that. Even though like, oh no, man, I'd rather talk to you if you're a little bit more with it, and like get the fuck out, like, here, go. But I guess one day she came in and like smoked meth in the bathroom. Number one, like,
Yeah.
you're not doing that here. Like, it's not, where we're located is kind of right behind the airport in the industrial section. Like, you can see the airport. We've watched the Fresno has a military strip and the commercial strip in the same place. So you're watching like regular jetliners land, but you're also watching fighter jets all day, which is loud as fuck, by the way. I don't know if you've never been close to a fighter jet or not, but they're like, we have two. We have the one right in town, and then the Lemoore Naval Air Station, where I did a shitload of work last summer. So I've been partially deafened by fucking fighter jets. They're so loud. I couldn't imagine how loud a battle would be. Like 20 on 20. If you were on the ground, it would be so fucking loud. It would also be apocalyptic as shit. Like, I kind of want to see it now that I've seen a bunch of them doing maneuvers, and just fucking flat nothing out here. So they train all the time, and right now there's twice as many planes as usual at the Air National Guard station in town. They're doing some sort of training maneuvers, but they also, like, crazy shit happens around here. Like, we'll get units in that, like, you know, you can tell the National Guard guys come in, and, you know, they're like fat and need haircuts and stuff. And then once in a while, you know, like 4 or 5 guys will come in, and they're fatigues will be real faded and dirty, and they'll have some patches you've never seen before. And it's always interesting to be like, I wonder what those guys do, like who they're with.
Yeah.
And a whole crew of guys came in that were definitely some sort of like I don't know, some sort of operations unit, because they were all like fucking beards, and like you can a military law enforcement guy is not tricking me no matter how they dress, because they can't help themselves. You know what I mean? Like there's certain like I don't know how to describe it, but there's certain like items of huh? What was that?
I said they're wired a certain way.
Yeah, there's certain
They're
items
wired
of
a certain
clothing
way.
or the fit that they'll wear or whatever, and you're like, and I asked like the second to last guy, I was like, so what do you guys do? He was like, special law enforcement. And I started laughing. I was like, I figured it was something like that, or you were an airsoft team. And he started laughing. He was like, no, it's definitely not airsoft. I was like, oh, good. But anyway, that's that. I've got kind of like a continuation to the stuff we were doing. My single, calling it the single stickery material. Basically, like I had somebody else kind of gave me the thought of it. I was planning on sort of going this direction anyway, and then this guy is a totally creepy motherfucker, right? His name is John Blaney. He's from I think like Ontario, somewhere in Ontario. I've gotten the weirdest vibes off this dude in person, and he had a really weird, like, you know, when people they just put their entire relationship out in public on social media.
Yeah.
You just know everything about what's going on with every aspect of it. He had this like weird relationship that ended in a breakup because the girl does drugs and shit, and like relapsed and all this stuff. And but he personally is just really weird. Like if you saw him, you'd be like, something creepy about you. Anyway, he does like old school jujitsu kind of stuff, and like some Kali stuff, and he's fought in a couple gathers. He's a big guy, he hits really hard, and he can grapple pretty good. Not amazing, but when he teaches, there's I have a scale of how crazy bullshit what you're teaching is based on what your gi looks like. It's like, and it's a dead on thing, and you're laughing because you know what I mean. Like when you get to the camouflage short sleeve gis all the way over to this side, you're like teaching ninjutsu and shit. And then over here you have like white gi, black belt. Then there's all the things in the middle. But he
like
wears
Stephen Hayes and Frank Dukes. They look like fucking Power Rangers.
yeah, exactly. Those kinds of things. George Dillman in his red gi. As soon as I see a red gi, I'm like, get me out of here. But he wears like a black gi with short sleeves, fingerless gloves, like not MMA gloves, like fingerless gloves. Like as part of his, and then his belt. I want to say his belt is like a weird pattern. It's not just like a standard black belt in whatever fucking thing he does. He's just an all-around odd character. He's got this whole kind of like weird persona. He's a DJ and a bouncer and all, like, anyway, I've met guys just like him before. And anyway, he saw my forehand to backhand drill, and he said something like called it like simple and common or something like that. And I was like, oh, well, fuck you, John, because I'm friendly with him. Like I'm not, but there's something like there's a weird vibe about him right away. You'd be like, ooh, ooh, and there's many little things that you pick out. His like very public weird breakup and like sadness and depression that he went into afterwards, where he was like just dumping every aspect of what was going on into the ether. It was actually one of the things that drove me off of Facebook. For years, I engaged on Facebook in various levels of appropriateness, and the last year I was like, oh, I'm not using this anymore. I've peeked at it a couple of times recently, but like, and I'm gonna have to advertise a little more on Facebook as time goes on. But for right now, I'm like, I don't even want to go back on there. Anytime I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's terrible.
I think for growing your brand, Instagram is better at this point, you know. And I hate to use that business term, but I've found more followers and success on Instagram than on actual Facebook. You know, Facebook I just connect with people, but yeah, Instagram more so.
Well, Facebook has Facebook has the ability to become a quagmire of shit really fast. And there I hate the algorithm. I hate how targeted stuff is, but in reality, the fact that Instagram is a little more targeted is definitely a benefit to trying to get your word out there based on Facebook, where yeah, it's targeted, but Facebook is targeted to kind of make you mad.
Yeah.
And I've heard it explained, and it's not that it's intentionally targeted to make you mad. It's that it's targeted to give you more of the stuff that you engage with. And if you start engaging with things that make you mad, it's going to keep giving you more things that make you mad. Like the people that just fall into these rage spirals of fighting with people online. And it's happened to me. It's happened to me. If I let myself, I will argue about anybody with anything. Fuck it. I don't even care. I like it. Like that's giving me like little spikes in my brain. I don't even have to believe the shit I'm saying a lot of the times. I can just be like, oh yeah, here's my bitch right here. We're gonna fight now. And I'll just start like if I don't have anything to do, it's a big thing that I've worked really hard on not doing. But I've had a couple of times in my life where I had mind-numbing periods in my job or day, and having this friggin' glowing rectangle in my pocket, those little hits of dopamine of like, oh, they responded. What did they say back? Oh, you dumb bitch. They just jump right back into it. And, that's not productive. And it's not good. Honestly, I joke and say it's not productive, but it's mentally not good. It's not good for you. And a lot of people do it. And some of them never realize it's not good. At least I got to the point where it was like, ooh, okay. Much like anything else, I'll go through like cycles of semi-addictive behavior and then catch myself and go, oh, don't do that. It can be anything, I have a tendency when sad to fall to the drink, and I'll catch myself about 2 weeks after being drunk every night and being like, oh, dude, whoa, can't keep doing that. Like, don't do that. With varying degrees of success. But anyway,
on that, brother.
Anyway, let's do some fucking martial arts. So, I've gone now from the sort of single strikes, double strike combos, and then we worked into a couple of 3-strike combos with the Tri-V stuff. I think the way that I would teach this in the future is I would actually insert this material right after the reverse 1s and 2s. So remember we did the reverse 1s and 2s where we were coming from here and cutting to there, or coming from the backhand and cutting to the forehand. I would probably stick this right after that, because that was still falling into the kind of like single strike category. This is basically all going to be multiple strikes after we kind of talk about the initial stuff. So I kind of classify my my striking patterns for stick fighting into either a slash, which I categorize as going all the way through, right? A jab, which could be like a hack motion like that. Yeah, exactly. Or a round strike, like a redondo kind of strike. So those reverse number twos work that way, but also vertical to the side, right? And you can do that on both sides of the body. So the difference being, instead of like coming here and cutting around where I'm cutting completely diagonally across my body, I'm cutting on the same side, right? Exactly. Vertical on the forehand, vertical on the backhand, and then there's also round strikes on the horizontal. So this kind of strike. Oh, and I can hear my shoulder doing the snap, crackle, pop when I do this. My shoulders and knees got trashed when I was a kid from playing hockey. It's terrible on your joints. So yeah. So this one is part of combinations like sticks. The forehand horizontal round strike works in things like when we do this kind of stuff. It's useful as a clearing motion that reloads you. You know what I mean? Same thing with the backhand. You can strike and come right back. These kind of, they do the same thing. You make your strike and your weapon returns right back to the same place. This one, you want it to be like as tight to your body as possible without drilling yourself straight in the kneecap. Like, you kind of will understand the planes of motion more than somebody who's brand new. So you're much less likely to just go smack, but it's worth saying. So those are the two. So with the reverse round strikes, we worked on that diagonal plane. Mm-hmm. This is taking that vertical plane and the horizontal plane. So now I've got like a bunch of kind of basic combinations to sort of work through with this. And I haven't really fully figured out the footwork yet, so we'll probably mess with that a little bit. The first one, and I haven't decided the order of these yet, but I think we'll do the first set as you slash through with the forehand, right? Backhand round strike on this side, slash back with the backhand. You can do this one of two ways, and I kind of haven't decided what I like better. I think I like better. That combo was forehand slash, backhand redondo, backhand diagonal slash, right? Cut, redondo, cut, redondo, cut, right? Then you can add as a variant to this, instead of cutting downward diagonal, we can cut horizontal. And I guess footwork wise, you could make this work in a bunch of ways. You could cut to the outside and finish like that. You could cut to the inside. Yeah, let me think. So if I'm facing my opponent, right, and my weapon's on this side, his weapon's on that side. If I go to the left side of the triangle, I cut to the hand, maybe cut to the arm, cut coming across here, here, there, or here, here. I'm just kind of messing with, like I said, I'm just kind of messing with the footwork of it now. I've kind of just come up with the combos. I guess footwork wise, you can mix it up in a bunch of ways. Most of these combos that I'm doing, you can kind of mix up in a bunch of ways, but I just like combining the stick and the footwork at the same time.
It makes sense.
It does.
That's one thing Crafty said that made sense to me. He's like, you could do all this stuff sitting still, but when we start moving, how effective is it?
Right. Well, I mean, we've discussed it. You learn that immediately. You went, oh, okay. There's something about standing here like this that's just not going to work right now. So, cut, slash, cut, slash. So I guess, yeah, for right now, just work the sides of the triangle. I want to try and link it into some sort of a full movement, but I'm just not sure where each part fits, because I want to cut out here, but then I'm cutting to the other side of my body. So if I'm doing it the way that the combination is set up, and I cut out to this side, I wouldn't be striking my opponent anymore. So I'd have to actually turn. So I'd have to like cut out and turn, which maybe could be the case. Like that could work, where step out, cut, turn, cut. Right. Step out on that 45-degree angle and then turn. I don't know. Cut. Yeah, I don't know. I still got to work on that one. It works better going to the right. So if you're cutting from your weapon side, step out to the right, redondo, cut back. Yeah, it definitely works better to the right. So that's how I'll do it. Step to the right, redondo, slash. Right. Step to the right, redondo, slash. Cut. Cool. For posterity's sake, I'm going to do a couple with my left. So cut to the left, back. Cut, redondo, back. Cut, redondo, back. Cut, redondo, back in slash. All right, cool. So each of these combinations that I'm going to do now is going to have like we do it on the right, we do it on the forehand, we do it on the backhand. So that one thing that I found is that if you throw one of these, you might have success throwing the other as well. So like here I would cut forehand, backhand, and then backhand, forehand, forehand. So I just put the cart before the horse by linking the two together. But so we just did starting on the forehand. Now we're going to start on the backhand side. She'll give you a moment to take your note.
Yeah, I'm a nerd.
No, do it. I mean, We got to write stuff down. Oh, this is weird side tangent, but have you ever heard of Roam Research?
No.
ROAM. Roam Research is an app that it's like a note-taking app that as you take your notes, you can put certain things in parentheses and it will like this is sort of how it was quickly explained to me, so I might be a little bit off on the mechanic of it, but it'll basically start to like organize your notes so that if you're like a researcher or something like that, or you're writing a book, you can easily go back and reference things. But my buddy's buddy created it, and this kid he's like 32 or 33. He just became a billionaire.
Jesus.
With a B. Like, holy shit. Seriously? So my two of the guys I grew up with just went out to visit him in Utah on his fucking compound. And they were out there all weekend. But it was funny because he put a post on Facebook saying, you know, hey, those of you who were at my wedding would remember my friend Connor. He was the one who officiated it. This kid got ordained and he officiated the wedding. And the way that the post started, like the wording, made it seem like this kid had passed away, because he was like saying all this nice stuff about him. And I was like, oh Jesus, is this gonna be one of those my friend Connor, you know, left us last night kind of deals? Oh no. The like last slide is this dude doesn't look anything like he used to. He looks like a hermit. He's got a huge beard and crazy hair. And it's like, yeah, Connor just became a billionaire this week and moved to Utah because his program hit whatever. But as he was telling me about it, I was like, shit, this thing sounds like it might work. Like this Roam Research app. I'm considering putting my notes on it. Like getting it and putting my notes on it so that I can quickly reference things and start to build. So far, I have a bunch of small notebooks.
Mm-hmm.
Like this one's a good example. This little notebook is full of all pages torn from other notebooks and full of like, you know, my weird shorthand notes and stuff. But then aside from having a bunch of stuff like that, I have like one clean one that's all broken down into shorthand that I get with really, really simple kind of explanations of things. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm going to digitize eventually. Like that's what right now I'm just handwriting it all as I do these classes, but I'm keeping it all really concise into this. But I want to put it down digitally and expand it a little bit so that number one, I have that reference, but number two, if people are training with me and they want that reference, it will be there and it'll have a little bit more to it than just this copy. But anyway, that's a side.
No, you gotta digitize stuff, Matt. You gotta digitize it and save it, because your handwriting gets worse as years goes on.
Yep. Oh, that's facts. That's facts. Anyway, so we covered the forehand side. Now we're on the backhand side. So it's going to go slash, forehand round strike, and then slash through. You could throw this as a forehand horizontal as well, same way we did on the back. So slash, 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 redondo, slash, cut, cut, cut. I don't really like forehand horizontal with the stick. I don't know why. I just don't feel like it doesn't feel that powerful. It feels like the most, this is gonna sound kind of funny. It feels like the most sissy strike that you could throw. Just this. I don't know why. It works with a sword, like it makes sense, but with a stick, I don't feel like it's that powerful or whatever, which is stupid because you're able to do, it's similar to a hook, like it should be good, but I just don't really like it. So a lot of the time I throw just the slash. It's weird. As soon as you add an uppercut kind of angle to it, I like it again. But this I don't like. I don't know why. I don't have an answer. It's just a weird prejudice I have against the horizontal forehand. But since I'm doing it with a sword, I'm gonna throw it. The one consideration you have to make with a blade is your opponent's facial structure. If you throw a strike to the neck with a blade, you could get hung up in the bones on their face. I mean, if you have like a hefty sword and you really strike that way, obviously you're gonna ruin them anyway. But you know, getting stuck in bone is a legitimate concern, and getting stuck in the bones of somebody's face, I would imagine would not be awesome, because you'd want your sword back. They wouldn't necessarily just die. You're going to be trying to pull it out. They're going to be freaking out. It wouldn't be good. So that's also part of why I would still hesitate, even with a sword, to throw the horizontal, because you don't, like, if you look at someone's face, even the squishy bits line up with a bunch of jaw, chin, all that stuff. So it seems like for me on the forehand, that 45-degree angle line, which would follow the actual angle of the jaw, it still just makes more sense. I know that's like a really morbid aside thing to why I don't like throwing that horizontal, but there it is. It's fucked up and sick, but that's how I think. And like I've said a bunch of times, you're not doing yourself any favors to pretend what you're doing isn't what it is. You know what I mean? Like, if you read certain people, I think Rory Miller might have been the one that said it, but you know, the martial arts is practicing the manufacture of corpses and cripples. Like, you have to always keep that thought in mind. Even, I mean, unless you're teaching like children, you don't be like, all right, kids, what are we making today? Corpses and cripples. Like, no, we don't do that. It's part of why I don't teach kids, is like, I don't really want to make it a cute game, you know? But anyway, so cut, cut, cut. Cut on the backhand, forehand redondo, cut on the forehand. Backhand, backhand, forehand. Right? So now from here, you can link the two if you want. So forehand, backhand redondo, backhand cut, and then we use that reverse two to bring us back. So we cut that backhand cut. Now we're on our forehand side. Now we got the reverse two, which brings us to the forehand redondo, forehand slash, right? And then because we have that reverse number one motion, we cut back on the number one, that side, that side, that side, that side, that side.
So is it just becoming the like one redondo, two redondo?
So it's, yep, forehand slash, right, to redondo on the vertical plane. And then you do the backhand slash again, but then this time it's coming back on the diagonal. So remember, we did the reverse ones and the reverse twos. This is why I was saying I would probably stick this material right after that instead of doing, yep. So that's how you link it to the next one, is you throw the reverse, and then once you get there, the vertical plane, and then back, and then reverse, vertical plane, back. And that's actually brought to mind something that I'm going to put in my notes. So please, feel free to continue, right? So
after that last strike of the 3-strike combo, I'm recharging on that side and then repeating the other combo.
Yes, exactly. So it links right back into one another. So cut, redondo on this side, cut back, and then do it again. And then
Gotcha.
redondo on the side, cut, do it again. So you're working on both, you're throwing a round strike on the vertical and on the diagonal plane.
Gotcha. So it's like the ribbon strike, so to speak. So come in, one, boom, 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 boom. That's nice. Like a good chug motion. Just keep you going.
Yep. Well, see, there you go. Like, do you feel that you could use this like directly in a fight? Like if you launched into this kind of pattern that you could keep it up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could press a guy and just continue, this breaks up the planes that you're striking in and the sides of the body that you're striking from in such a way that it's not easy for them to decipher the pattern.
And that whip around, that reload here, boom, and then I come in this way.
Yes.
That's like almost a clearing strike.
Yes. Exactly. So
Yeah.
you can pick which of the components of this combination are the the kill shot strike, especially as you're running through it. Maybe really the strike you're looking for is the second number 2 the whole time, and the rest of this could just be like a setup, or like you said, clearing shots or whatever. So yeah, this one, there's a lot to play with here, especially once you kind of get used to pulling out like which side you're working from to start.
Yeah.
You could also, level 1 of sort of practicing this would just be like slash across, round strike, slash across, round strike, like that, right? This is also something I think I'm going to add.
My suggestion is
Yeah.
I would definitely, you know how we did the 3 strike and now you're just doing a 2 combo?
Yeah, put the 2 first.
No, I would put the 2 after, because the
Really?
3 is more complex.
Okay.
If they grasp the 3, I know that kind of goes against some of the things with teaching.
No, but I like that kind of.
It's like Steve always makes me work with the left hand first.
Right.
And like, if you can work it fairly decent on your left, by the time your right picks it up, it's translated already.
Yeah.
So what that does is that prevents, because what's going to happen too, and I see this a lot in martial arts, is people will just stick with the easy combo because they can do it.
Right.
Versus you teach them the more complex and technical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you shave it down.
Okay.
So it's like English. I teach you all the rules so you can break them with style.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I teach you all the rules so you can break them with style. Well, it's like I describe it to people a lot of the times as improvisational jazz. And like when you watch a stick fight, especially like you watch the way I fight, if you don't have a frame of reference, it's kind of seems a little messy and a little bit chaotic, which it kind of is intentionally. But if I didn't know how to do 1, 2, roof block, like all these basic things in their basic form, it wouldn't work so good for me to just go out there and, I tend to go instant to instant, like reading what's going on and reacting and responding and trying to anticipate a little bit ahead. Like I don't intentionally think about it, but immediately like the computer starts to turn on and be like, all right, what's happening here? And like what are the steps from there? And You know, how do I make this really uncomfortable for the other guy? A lot of it has to do with short circuiting whatever pattern we start on, breaking it and going to something else once the other person starts to get comfortable with it. And you can't do that without a basic set of you know, this is how this works kind of stuff. Like when Anderson Silva showed up in the UFC, he just had basic Muay Thai. He just did basic Muay Thai. I mean, he didn't do anything that different. But he fucked people up because they didn't know anything about basic Muay Thai. And he did, you know, he didn't do it in a very structured way. He did it in kind of a random pattern. Now that we all know it, or like you have the ability to know what Muay Thai looks like, you're like, oh, he wasn't doing anything complicated. He was just doing it like a jazz musician. You know what I mean? He was just putting his little doot 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 wherever he needed to. And in the old days, that worked great because fucking nobody knew what to do about it. You know what I mean? That fight he fought Forrest Griffin when he like dodged back and hit him on the back foot and just crumpled him. And Forrest did the like no mas.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work today. That wouldn't work on like a low level guy today. You know what I mean? It's just people know better. But back then you could get away with that. Now, obviously, you've got guys like Israel Adesanya, who he's playing with, you know, a much deeper color palette. Anderson had like red, blue, and yellow, where everybody else had some smudge of one of, you know, of some color that might be even more complex. But Anderson had red, blue, and yellow, and he knew what to do. And everybody else was behind. But now, you know, Israel's got the whole thing. Anyway, I just wanted to add that 1-2 combo.
Six, 1, 2.
All right. So these are all kind of fluid strikes, right? Like we're going with a fluid strike, round strike to fluid strike to fluid strike to round strike, fluid strike, round, fluid. I guess this one's a round strike technically, yeah, and then here, right? So now we're gonna break it up and put a jabbing strike in there. So here's where we're going to do that horizontal plane. And with a stick, we're aiming at like the hand probably on this one. You could aim this at the face, but we're aiming at the hand or elbow, you know, something bony and painful. So the first strike is a broken strike. And then comes the round strike. So we're going forehand jab, forehand round strike, slash across. So it's a jab on that horizontal plane, the round strike on the vertical plane, and then a slash on the diagonal plane. Yep. Jab, redondo, slash. Jab, redondo, slash. This is, who is this? This combination comes from, I learned this through like, if you've ever watched the Dog Brothers DVD, there's usually some extra shit at the end, some extra material. This came into one of them somewhere. And if I could remember the old Filipino guy that was teaching it, I'd say his name. I got to try and dig this out because I don't even remember what tape it was from. But basically, he does it. He shows it in the context of blocking a leg shot, but not really blocking. You're moving your leg. But I forget why he did it this way, because it doesn't necessarily just immediately translate. But in most Dog Brother martial arts, like there's no block for your leg. You just move it. Like you just move your leg out of the way. So I move my leg in two ways. One, I actually bait. I bait the person where I'll lean all my weight onto my leg and it puts my leg here. And then I just lean back a little bit. And in the act of straightening my leg and leaning back, it moves my leg like a foot from where it was. And then the other option is the Illustrissimo cross step, where you actually physically move your leg all the way back and forward. So this one works good if the person, if you know they're coming, if you're like, oh, he's going to try and hit me in the leg, doing this works really good because when you strike someone in the leg, either you do it in a moment when you know they don't expect it. Like we're out here and I'm throwing all kinds of nonsense up high and you're kind of leaning heavy on your front leg and I kind of do like, oh, look at me, boom, and then just hit you in it. Sometimes that works, but typically you need a setup and a cover, right? So like you'll have to set up with a cut, get down there to where you can hit them, and then cover as you come out. Because nobody likes getting hit in the leg. And if you drop down low, even if you're fast, it takes a minute. So the counter to that is just because at some point they have to be vulnerable. And it's going to be here. It's going to be when they're throwing the actual strike at your leg that they're vulnerable. So if you get this quality of moving your leg back and snapping your weapon out at the same time, you should be able to brain somebody when they go down there. But anyway, that's a little side tangent. The Illustrissimo cross step. Steve probably has referred to this. Like you've probably heard the term Illustrissimo cross step because it's something that people say in Dog Brothers. Mark highly recommends it, but it is a good motion to build in if you're going to be going against people that are going to try and hit you in the legs. Because that's really, aside from eat the shot, like you can just eat the leg shot and smash them. Like it happens sometimes, but way better than that is not getting hit in the leg and smashing them, because not only have they not scored their hit, you just have severely discouraged them from any desire to try that shit again. So, all right, so that's Illustrissimo cross step, just a little extra bit. But so from here, we're working on that forehand redondo slash through, which if you kind of follow the fucking pattern we've been working on so far, it reloads you onto the backhand side. So you can slash through and then recycle back to your forehand side, or you can take it where you slash through. Now we're on the backhand side, backhand redondo, slash through from the other side. So you're here, it's backhand jab, right? Redondo, slash through. Backhand on the horizontal, backhand redondo, slash through. I actually need to orient to this way. I'm orienting the camera because I want it to be clear that when I'm doing the redondo, it's staying on this side. So I don't know, backhand redondo with a sword is kind of funny, but I like doing it with a sword because it forces me to line up my knuckles and do it right. I mean, with a stick, it doesn't matter. I could throw, like, if throwing it on this plane works, it works, but I'm being as conscious as I can of lining up so that the blade would be doing the work. So backhand, backhand, backhand. This is something that I've been doing for a while. This forehand, 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 backhand, backhand, backhand. I think I learned it. I might have learned it from Mark Denny, to be honest with you. But doing this links up. So if we were in person, I'd have you throwing this combination, and I would be throwing a double stick combination at you at the same time.
Mhm.
So you could pick up, that's what I'm doing with my double sticks right now, where I'm going jab, this meets the jab, right?
Mhm.
As you do the round strike, that picks this up, and then your slash through picks this up. Now you're on the other side. Jab, round strike, slash. So with one stick, if my sticks are coming from the opposite side of the body, with one stick, you're able to pick up all three. It's like it's a party trick, really. I mean, but it gets people it gets people's mind into the flexible mode of like, oh, we can go 1 against 2 effectively. You know what I mean? It shows people that they can take a single weapon and read what their opponent is doing with double weapons and still, be in charge of the encounter.
So let me ask you this question on that
Mhm.
on that jab strike. Are you just dropping into the redondo, or are you bringing it back into the redondo? Or yes, depends.
It depends. Yeah, it depends. If you're kind of coming in, well, yeah, I think the answer is yes. So it depends. So, or yeah, it's all about the timing of when you're sort of pulling it off.
Right.
There would definitely be times where jab into the redondo there is almost like a different strike. That I could see that being the kind of strike if you had a blade, that you might be looking for, where you got cut to here, cut through, cut, 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 cut. But I feel like if you had a bigger weapon, a stick, bringing it back, really loading it.
Yeah.
So I think that would be circumstantial. So if if I was actually fighting somebody in a room this size with a blade this size, making the motions tighter makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I was out in the field with a bigger stick and I was, yeah, I mean, I think that's the difference between the quickness and the power.
Gotcha.
Am I cutting with a lighter blade where I want the quickness, or am I cutting with something heavier where I want the power? Even with I don't know, my meth head meat cleaver here. Yeah, man. I think with the blade, those tighter strikes definitely feel aggressive. They feel powerful, even though they're just kind of quicker and smoother. But
well, the blade's a different tool. You don't have to hack as hard, to create as much damage as you would with the stick. The stick, I went back and forth with it, and when I did this, I felt like I was like a little fairy faggot casting a spell.
yeah, exactly.
Boom, boom, boom.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's a
You
different.
got to build the momentum a little more.
Yeah.
With the larger weapon, for sure. But that one's good. It picks up, like I said, it picks up multiple angles. So that was part of throwing that drill with the sticks, is you can mess with the angles the sticks are coming in on, and you'll still pick it up. Yeah,
And then correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I just always like to. I'm
Yeah.
thinking and processing as we do
No,
this.
no.
Thinking about that Illustrissimo cross step. It seems like I could even like do this to occupy the space and then just come crashing in.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like something Steve does. He's like on you like
Yeah.
a mad dog.
Well, that's like I said, I learned this through some Dog Brothers related material, so it wouldn't surprise me if Steve knows this particular thing too. And yeah, with that cross step, one thing that I kind of think about with the Illustrissimo cross step is not necessarily letting my upper body go anywhere. So this almost like if it's almost like I'm pulling my leg away and starting to fall back into the space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you don't want to waste, your opponent has just committed to coming in and dropping low. They have to commit to coming back out. So if you can be ready to move forward, like you can't move faster than gravity, really. If you're dropping into a space already, that's as quick as you can get there. So if you, like you said, you occupy the space, strike, and you're coming forward as you you're coming forward as your strike is falling, then you're able to follow that momentum up.
Yeah.
We're here, strike, redondo, strike, and then you can come right back. And then from the other side. Like that.
Hold on. Give me 1 second. Right back.
No problem.
You had me inspired with the chopper. And little show and tell.
Okay.
This was a gift from my father-in-law in the Philippines.
Oh wow. Is that a Golok?
No,
Yeah.
it's a parang.
Oh yeah. Okay, I see it with the widening tip and that kind of shape.
Look how thick
Yep.
that fucking thing is.
Yeah.
This is my home defense weapon. This is, you come into my house, I got this.
That's what you got. Yeah. Yep. There you go.
It's heavy as shit, but yo, this, you ever see like those Chinese swords from Chinatown they got, like the Tai Chi swords?
Yeah.
Split it in half like it was nothing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, those things, especially those like the Tai Chi and the what do you call them? The like wushu weapons.
Yeah.
Those are barely, I mean, that's sheet metal comparatively, especially the shit they make in the Philippines, man. Do you have you ever handled anything from TFW, traditional Filipino weapons?
No.
That guy Ron Kozakowski, I think he might be.
I know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a hook up with some old guy in the Philippines. So my Espati Daga rig is my Filipino sword and a fucking K-bar because it's American as shit. But this is like ground out of a leaf spring.
Wow.
Yeah. I think they calls this like a itak or something like that. But yeah, it's a pretty awesome blade.
It's almost like a Pluti.
Yeah, some dude in the Philippines made it in their in his little shack with a fucking grinder, and it's pretty awesome. There, I mean, the handle's definitely glued, but there's also a pin in the tang, so like it's pretty sturdy. I mean, I've seen people. What's his name? There's a guy on YouTube called Scalagrim that has torture tested a couple of his weapons, and actually, I think he broke one of his two-handed. Oh, that's lucky. he broke one of his two-handed weapons, and they changed how they built it based on him breaking it. So it's pretty sturdy. And I think, I mean, obviously I didn't get it for $6 in the Philippines, but for like, it was like a couple hundred American. It wasn't crazy expensive.
You spent more for shipping than you did for anything else.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure. You know, Ron's got to make a few bucks importing it, and then the old man out there. But I've heard that from his original shit to this shit, the quality has gone up a lot because his quality of life has gotten so much better. Because I mean, they sell hundreds of these things, man. Like there's people all over the place have bought his shit because he has all different styles. You can find anything you want. Now they make some like their other culture weapons are not, they look cool, but like you look at them and you're like, oh yeah, you just sort of knew what it looked like, so you made a thing kind of like it. But their Filipino shit is awesome. I love that sword. It almost makes me sad that it's very unlikely that I'll ever have to use it in a sword fight, because I feel like it deserves to be used, you know. I also am mildly terrified of being in, actually more than mildly, I'm quite terrified of the idea of being in an actual blade fight with like long weapons. That's fucking, oh boy, that's scary. That's really scary to think about, like clashing with somebody in that regard. So yeah, so that was, we've gone through 2 sets, right?
Yep.
And then the third one is going to be round, strike through, come back, right? Backhand, strike through. Oh no, I'm sorry. Forehand, round strike. So this one, you're hitting your opponent's weapon or whatever. Here, I kind of like using this rolling motion with my wrist. So this is something that some styles of Filipino martial arts don't make that big of a deal about, and I see people opening their hand to spin their weapon. You can get pretty fast doing that. The problem with that is somebody's just gonna smack that shit right out of your hand. So I practice rolling without opening my hand at all. And so that's kind of the quality of motion we're trying to get here, is that wrist roll, because we're trying to snap the guy's shit out of the way. So we're coming around and we're loaded back up over the forehand shoulder and cutting through and then cutting back. So cutting across, cut through, cut back. So up to now, our redondo strikes have been on the vertical line or the diagonal line. Now they're coming on the horizontal line. So clearing the opponent's weapon, striking, striking, clearing, striking, striking, clearing, striking, striking. With a stick, this motion, you're going to make contact with 2 cylindrical objects. So this motion is going to sort of like roll your opponent's stick a little bit out of the way. Mm-hmm. The blade, it's a little different. You kind of have to consider the fact that you're going to be hitting 2 asymmetrical objects together. You could come in where you're essentially just throwing with the back edge and snapping their blade out of the way like that. Mm-hmm. Or you could come in on the forehand and roll your whole hand through, or you can come in this way and flick it down. There's sort of different ways to go about it. If you have some sort of a target you can set up where you could actually put a blade shaped or paddle shaped object so that you could sort of feel the difference, that would be helpful.
Like
That's
a
all
good,
stuff, huh?
like the garrote, I think it is, like the flatter Filipino.
Yeah, yeah. If you had something similar in shape to that, so like I need a pool noodle. I tried to buy a pool noodle on Amazon, and you have to buy them in like the 6-pack. I'm like, I don't want 6. I want like 1. Because I want to make arms for my bob, because I have a bob dummy outside. It doesn't have any arms, so I want to take a long sleeve T-shirt and put 2 pieces of pool noodle in it to simulate arms, and then I'm gonna stiffen one of them, maybe with pieces of stick or something, or broomstick, and then attach a weapon hand so that I have something to work off of. That's like my next little step in my evolution here is get Bob set up with some arms so I can demonstrate some of these concepts, because that's very like, I wouldn't even bother talking about this aspect of things to some people because they're not going to entirely grasp what I mean. But if your opponent's blade is like this, attacking it this way versus attacking it this way versus attacking it this way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like each part of the sword that you strike with is going to have a slightly different quality when you intercept your opponent's weapon. So at that point, it's very experimental. Like we don't have the luxury of actually having some library of footage of guys really sword fighting. I mean, there's some kind of videos of guys HEMA sparring, maybe with messers or something like that, but it's all theoretical at that point. So that's just a thing to play with. So then we did the forehand, right? Now we do the backhand. Come across, whip it back through, the reverse 2 to the number 1. Come across, through, 1. This knocks their weapon aside, cut, 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 cut. Knock the weapon aside, cut through, cut back. Side, cut through, cut back. Oh. Knock it aside, diagonal, diagonal. Just want my left side to do things as good as my right. It's like I can make my left do things fairly well, but I have to think about it much more. My especially like my right hand, if I'm boxing, it's different because I'm thinking about things like this, but typically I box with my right side forward. So my left side is sort of used to not having to be the star of the show. So I feel like it doesn't do as stupid stuff as my right does when I'm working with my left. So we go backhand, backhand, forehand, backhand, backhand, forehand, backhand, backhand, forehand. So horizontal plane, diagonal plane, diagonal plane, horizontal, diagonal, diagonal.
See, when I go lefty, my big problem is my right hand's like, oh, we got a break, so it's at my side.
Yeah, yeah.
Because my right hand works, the left hand's like, we're covering.
Right. Well, as soon as I put like a knife in the other hand, it's all good again. Like there, 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 and then yeah. As soon as the knife comes in, I've got the coordination back. But just having my hand chilling out, it doesn't really know what to do. I think, how did I?
And remind me at the end, I could talk to you about at least why Serrata spins the sticks in their hands, or at least can explain that. And though you'll never see me in a Dog Brothers fight spinning my stick open-handed.
I mean, you fall to your training. Like you kind of go back to stuff. So if it comes out, it comes out. But I learned the hard way really fast early on that it gets blasted out of your hand. That in terms of block O material, we ran through all that I had for today. I had those 6 combos plus the other stuff. Like it's a little faster with you. It's like going through stuff with Steve. It's a little faster with you guys than it is with somebody who's totally brand new, because you're comfortable with the motions and you don't ask 1,000 very basic questions. So, so tell me about why Serrata spins with the open hand. What's going on there?
Well, initially when we train, I spin with the open hand to let you know I'm sending, right? So that's
Okay.
like my intention. Because if you don't, then basically I attacked you when you weren't ready and I just started a fight. So it's a bit of communication. So
Okay.
we have spin strikes for 2 reasons. One is a type what we call shoulder block. And you don't take the brunt of the weapon with this because it is going to get blasted. So it needs to work in coordination of the check hand. But if we're in here close and you're coming with a 2, and I glide it off and then I come over the top.
Okay.
So that's a rare occurrence. The other one is when you get jammed up. If we're here, right? So the stick is coming in and we're jammed up this way. This spin strike allows me to come over and clear.
Oh, okay. So it's more of a pivot point.
Yeah. So it's boom for a pass.
Oh, that was quick. Okay.
Or if I'm here and we're jammed up, you come with a backhand and I'm in this position, I roll and I trap with the butt of the weapon. So we actually, you'll see us spin our sticks, but you won't see it in our sparring where we're like this, and open-handed.
Yeah.
It has very prescribed moments.
Yeah.
And there's also like the reverse spin. So if I come over this way, boom, and now I want to clear it back out the other way and get back on top. So it's for manipulation and trapping.
Yeah, it seems like you're riding the force of the opponent's strike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Rather than trying to meet the force with that.
No, we don't do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Where it's like you'll see us do this, but I've seen a lot of grandmasters when they do the shoulder block, it's closed-handed. It's a wing block, or you guys umbrella, and they come over the top. But if it's this way, and notice when I come in, I'm blocking that too. My shoulder back. I'm baiting you to hit my hand, and I'm here, and then the spin strike comes for me to get a short pop in real quick. So it's just boom. Because I had a guy tell me, he's like, I'm just going to snatch your stick from you. And I was like, we're going live speed? He's like, yeah. And it was like this. He went from the stick, and it wasn't there. It's like, boom, on top of the hand. You won't see me do it in a Dog Brothers fight because the gloves don't allow it.
Oh, okay.
I don't feel comfortable with the grip. I don't even know how I'd do it if I had, if I was barehanded live. I have to be honest. I don't know if I'd really do it unless I got jammed up here and I'm like, fuck it, come over the top.
Right.
That's the only time I'd probably open and spin my stick. So I'm very cautious about that.
It's a little different too, when you're saying doing it live or whatever, I assume a blade. If it like real situation, obviously like in life, you might wind up with a stick in your hand, who knows? But when I think about doing something live, I think about going to the blade because if you go back far enough, even these styles where we're doing stick fighting, that's not what they were doing. They
Mhm.
were practicing using their sword either in a way that was safer by using a stick, in a way that was preserving their sword. Because I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to be just fucking slamming my sword against another sword for practice all the time. Like, you're gonna fuck your shit up, man. Part of it in the Philippines is you have very uncertain craftsmanship and materials. So like, and that sword might be good for a couple of clashes, but not forever. There's a reason why there's training weapons. You know what I mean? And the stick was one of those. And then the other reason was during the period of time when the Spanish were in charge of things, hiding what they were doing, or not being allowed to carry longer blades, and so having to use hardwood sticks. But nobody would choose a stick first. Going into, maybe in the trendy hipster world of America, somebody would be like, I would choose a stick. And I go, well, all right, man, you can have your fucking stick. I'll take my sword, thank you. Cool. So when you think about it from the concept of the sword, watching you do those moves with the blade shaped weapon as opposed to the stick makes it make much more sense. And as you said, like doing it in a Dog Brothers match, when you're swinging sticks really hard, like there's certain things that just with a sword are not going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But likewise, if we have swords, some of those big motions you're doing with a stick, you're going to get murdered by someone who's paying attention to the aspects of the weapon and the attributes of the weapon itself. You're not using the same thing. Form follows function. Yeah, biomechanically we're doing a lot of the same movements, and we're working within the umbrella of this system that that will cover the sword and the stick, but you have to take into account those little things. Like a good example, actually the most fantastic example, and I wouldn't say it like this because it comes across kind of disrespectful, but I've had a chance to train with Maya Soderholm. Maya lives in the Bay Area, so she only lives about 3.5 hours from me. And just life has not let me get back up there this winter, but I have at least 1 or 2 more trips up to train with her because her movement and the way that she is filtering Sunny Umpad's teaching through her teaching or through her other experience doing Bagua and stuff like that. She has a very fluid and flexible style of movement with the blade. And if we had a sword fight, I would put money on her killing me. But if we had a stick fight, I'd beat her to death because she's a 50-year-old woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't stand a chance if we had 2 of these. Like, I'm probably fucked. Like, the best I could hope for is maybe some mutual death. Yeah, but if we had sticks, I'd kill her because there you go. It's just like I said, I wouldn't say it like that if I was talking to her, but just in the reality of the situation is that's probably how it would go. Like maybe she'd get one good one in on me, but I would be throwing power shots in a way, and because of, I'm not saying any man my age and whatever, but I'm a full contact stick fighter. I've been doing it for 10 years. Like I'm gonna come get you. Like it's just, that's how it's gonna probably play out, those are the qualities of the weapon. You know what I mean? If you put a spear in some guy's hand, I'm fucked. There's some guys that are going to be that much better with that weapon set. Or maybe not. Like I'm okay with a staff. That a quarter staff is a great weapon in some people's hands against almost anything. That's like people don't necessarily grasp that, but someone that's done a lot of like long sword sparring, or like Kima style single sword, if they really know what they're talking about and they've ever gone against a quarterstaff, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's a better weapon. Like in a one-on-one fight with no armor, a 5 foot hardwood pole versus a sword, like you're on pretty good footing, if not better, because of the flexibility of a sword. A sword is pretty good for killing people that aren't armored. Like it's pretty good. It's very flexible. There's a lot of things it can do, but it's not the best at any one thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can block with it, but it's not as sturdy as a hardwood pole. You can thrust with it, but it's not as good as a spear. You can hew with it, but it's not as good as a two-handed axe. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty good at a bunch of shit. But a person who's extremely skilled with it is going to eat alive all these mediocre guys with those other weapons. The other thing is the other weapons are easier to pick up. Like it's tough to get really good with a sword. You know, we're all in theoretical la la land with our swords, and like that's awesome. Like I'm doing it, right? I've been holding one all morning, but I wish we had the ability to see what it looks like when an actual master with a sword is out there, you know, moving around and fighting. And unfortunately, that's all lost. You know,
I think it's up to us in this generation to experiment, man, and kind of see what's there. Like one thing that, and I've only expressed this with a few masters, there's something that really undoes a lot of Serrata, and we found it by accident. Serrata doesn't work with the trench axe. Like if I'm going up against a guy with a trench axe and I'm working in close, this beard negates a shitload of my counters. The only thing that does work is the shoulder block, because this will slide through the beard.
Yeah.
Other than that, our punch block, our cross block, we are open. And I mean, I've had my students come at me with this, and I've gotten eaten alive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the antithesis to Serrata, and a lot of the Serrata guys don't want to know that. And I've had to tell them, how do you know? I was like, because I've had my student attack me with it. Yeah. And guess what? You better rethink what you're doing Serrata-wise if that guy's got any sort of beard or spike on the end of his weapon.
Yeah.
Because now you're doubly fucked, man.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's
that knowledge, but we got to experiment, bro.
Yep. I mean, that's the whole thing with Dog Brothers too, man. It's like, well, what works? Does this work? Let's try it. You know, let's see if it works. And having that laboratory to work with, you know, guys who are more purist will come up with whatever excuses to not get involved that they can, you know what I mean? But when the rubber hits the road, I would take somebody who's got a bunch of gathering experience over some guy who's just been fencing in a hall or, you know, practicing Filipino martial arts in a structured environment without ever stepping out into like, well, what's a little bit of chaos like? You know, you don't have to throw away your experience to gain more experience. You don't have to throw away the things that you already know to absorb more. If your cup is that full, like, I don't know, there's probably some bullshit in there. Throw out how to play Pokemon Go or whatever, you know.
But even, you know, the eye opener was when I was at the gathering in California. Even though I don't fight with whips, I saw 2 instances that opened up my eyes. Number one, the guy threw the strike and they got caught up in the flag. That's something to think about. And then the guys had their whips entangled. That was the other one.
Yep.
And I would have never have thought, unless I've seen that in play, we're like, yo, that could actually happen.
Yeah.
I thought tactically, when their whips, they started pulling on it, somebody should have just let go and rushed the other guy. You had a dagger. That was my thinking. I was like, you guys are both pulling on it, playing tug of war. Let go and charge.
Right. Yeah.
That was just my thinking. But I would have never have thought, like, now if I ever did a whip fight, like I'm going in there with that knowledge, like, yo, this shit can happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's a lot. So like when it's stick against stick, that never happens, right? I learned that the hard way with axes. You probably wouldn't have met Brett Sims, Gray Dog, but Brett and I did 3 tomahawk fights in 3 consecutive gatherings. And the first one was tomahawk and knife versus tomahawk and knife. And what ended up happening, my old man, we were, going, and right off the bat, we both threw number 1 and they locked together. And you could see us at the same time, like look at our hand, look at each other, and just both just stepped in, mutual, just dagger in the chest. And we disengaged and just kind of looked at each other and were like, okay, so that's a danger. You can't just fluid to fluid, you're gonna catch. I started using that on purpose after that, trying to catch and pull step off line, pull right into the headbutt. There's a bunch of that kind of shit that I'm gonna do a couple of tomahawk lessons. I'm in the works with actually Sunday between my 2. I have like my morning class and my evening class. Heather's away this weekend, so I'm stuffing a bunch of martial arts shit in there on Sunday. I don't have any. She only has every other weekend off. So usually if she has a weekend off, like I'm gonna hang out with her and whatever. But she's going to do a horse clinic this weekend, so she's gone the whole time. So it's just me and the pets. So Sunday I'm gonna work in this middle session working with Zach from Wingard Wearables. He's the guy that I've been working with since the beginning of Corona, basically on tomahawk stuff. My sharp one is actually at Kaju's house because I forgot it, but he makes if you look at my logo, the axe on my logo is the sharp version of this. And then he also makes one like this. This is a trainer. He doesn't sell these anymore because they're almost as expensive to produce as the real deal, but it weighs the same thing, which is like 8 ounces. It barely weighs anything, because historically tomahawks were stupid light. Like the Native Americans that were having trade axes made had really, really light ones. So these he has set up for everyday carry. So this is the Empress and then the Back Ripper. Okay. And he makes these now with a shorter handle that'll slide into Molly gear, which is kind of cool. And I wish like I said, I left my sharp one at Dean's house, but he has the masks are set up like there'll be one mask for the spike, one mask for the blade, and they're attached with a piece of shock cord. And then he's got 2 pieces of shock cord with little alligators. So those will hold on to the material, whether it's your pants or belt or whatever, and you grab it by the top or some sort of like thumb grab and pull it up, and it pulls the actual sheaths right off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. I gotta get mine, but like I said, I left it at Dean's because we were fucking around last week, and I just didn't think to pick it back up. But when I get it back, I'll make a video so that you can see. But I was carrying it around in gym shorts. When he sent it to me, he was like, "Fuck with it a little bit, see what works for you." And I was able to carry it around in like regular elastic waist gym shorts or sweatpants. And with the gym shorts, you could kind of see it. Like there was definitely, you could see a little bit of an outline of something there, but with sweatpants even, it kind of disappeared. Zach designs ballistic weapons for the Army. That's what he does as his day job. He lives in Pennsylvania, and he says it's soul sucking and makes him want to die. Basically, he's like, you spend all this time on design, research and development, you have prototypes built, and some dickhead who's never shot a gun in anger shoots down your idea. You know what I mean? And he said the other thing is you'll get to the point they created these drones, like these small drones that they wanted to send with different special ops units. And so they sent a couple of them with some Navy SEALs. And the first day back, they just like show up and they're like, here, you can have this back. And it's all mangled up. And the guy's like, what the fuck happened? They were like, oh, we started trying to chase our Malinois around with it. And he turned around and just grabbed the thing out of the air and destroyed it, their dog. And the guy was like, what the fuck, guys? Like, what were you doing? They were like, well, it didn't survive the dog. Like, well, I don't want to take that out into combat. And like, there's not going to be a dog. You're going to be flying it around. You're not going to be like flying it back and forth in your friggin' barracks, messing with your fur missile. Like, what the fuck? So he was like, I have control over these primitive weapons. So he makes like, he does tomahawks and then some spike-ish weapons. He makes one called the Quill. It's like a little kind of question mark shaped thing. It's a spike. And then he made a couple of bigger spikes. I don't know. I mean, he sold out of them, but I don't know if he's continuing those. But the tomahawks, he sells a shitload of them. And when we got in touch, he was like, hey man, I don't know how to use this stuff. He's like, I have no idea. And he's like, I see you've at least done some sparring. And I was like, I've done a lot of sparring with them. Like, I definitely have more experience than most when it comes to sparring with the tomahawks. I was like, I like the weapon. And so anytime someone's willing to fight me with it, I do. So he was kind of like, all right, well, I'm going to send you a trainer if that's cool, play with it a little and see what you think. So he sent me that first one and I gave him some feedback and he was like, all right, I'm going to send you a sharp blade. So then he sent me that Empress one. He's like, carry it around a little bit, see what you think. So I carried it in my pants for a while. I really couldn't carry anything like that doing construction just because it's a pain in the ass. Yeah. But I was carrying it in my backpack like I carry my kukri where it's rigged up for like a quick draw. And so I got pretty confident with quick drawing it that way and carrying it around. It's very why is my brain not working? It's very inconspicuous. It's not any bigger than like a small hammer. I mean, it's not a large tool. The head is there's two things about it that are really interesting. Is asymmetrical. So one side is flat and the other side is convex. Mm-hmm. And then the spike is slightly curved as well. The spike being slightly curved is because it fits a little bit along your hip. So like, I mean, you can't really see that I have anything there. I mean, you kind of can, like, but the real thing draws that fast. Like, it's out and in your hand. So I highly recommend them. But anyway, we started working on like how to use basics kind of thing so that when he was doing demos and stuff on his channel, at least he looked like you could kind of use it. And then he's had some guys. So then after we worked on the sharp one, he was like, I want to make a trainer for it. And Volpes Training Blades had, I don't know how to say it, Volpes or Volpes. He approached Zach and was like, hey, I've seen your shit. Like, do you have trainers? Do you want to make trainers? Like, what do you think? And so, they sent, the guy made 3 and he sent 2 to Zach. Well, he sent them all to Zach and Zach sent me one. So this one's a little different from what they're selling now. The real Empress, the blade comes right, like it's sharp right to the handle. Yeah. And the way that this guy designed this first one, there's a finger notch here. So people keep choking up on it. And I'm like, you can't do that. It's not going to work. You're going to go to choke up and you're going to dig right into your hand. Yeah. See how much contact I'm making with the blade? Yeah. So that's one thing with this weapon that it's real trendy and popular when you see guys doing, demos to choke up and strike with things and manipulate and all that shit. First of all, probably not. It's probably not what you're going to do. It's an axe. You're probably going to be doing this, especially if like you've never had to use one before and you're in, primal fear for your life. you're probably not gonna like choke up, punch, hook, do this stuff. You're probably gonna be like, ah, like that. But that's very likely. You ever see the fucking Snowpiercer?
Yeah.
The
Not the
movie
TV
where
show, the movie. I seen the
fucking
movie. Yeah.
Captain America on a train.
It's
Uh,
babies.
yeah, dude. I saw a theory where that's actually a direct sequel to Willy Wonka, where Charlie is Ed Harris, and someone broke it down. It was extremely compelling. I was like, oh god, it might be like, uh, um. Anyway, there's the axe fight scene when they're going through the tunnel and it's dark and they're fighting the guards. Like they realize the guards don't have any fucking bullets, and they charge up the train, and then they run into like the goon squad, and it's a giant like axe fight in this train car. That is so horrifying to even consider, being in a train car with like 20 guys on that side, 20 guys on your side. Everyone's got a fucking axe, and then the lights go out. There's just shit whipping around all over the place, people down low, up high, like conceptualizing how fucking scary that would be. But people are doing like there's complex choreography happening in there. That's not how that would go.
No.
It would be two groups of guys edging forward towards each other, and like the front guys kind of hacking and sitting back, and then when the lights go out, it would literally be two groups of guys about this far apart, probably doing this, unless they were really well trained. But here's the thing, those fuckers have been on that train a long time. I don't think those guys are that well trained on the other side.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're shitting themselves too. They've been holding everything back with the threat of having guns this whole time, and then there aren't any guns. Like, how good are they? How good is your starving mass of like back of the train dwellers? It's also a question, but like, ooh, you've got two groups of relatively untrained guys shitting themselves. Like, I don't think it would. I'm pretty sure it would have a big stalemate right there. Like, after the first guy or two got chopped in the face, like, I don't know. Maybe you get a situation where the morale of the other side breaks, and just mob mentality. Your guys are able to kind of all rise to the occasion at the same time. But yeah, it would be a pretty sketchy moment. That's for sure. Especially once the lights went out. Oh boy, that shit's crazy.
There
But
was what's his name? Carlito Bonhoc had told me stories of him and Ron Saturno after they would train with Angel Cabales.
yeah,
They would wrap their sticks in black electrical tape and go into like a dark bush at night and like spar each other.
Make it harder to see him. Ooh,
yeah. I was like, how
cool.
do we get? He goes, we got fucked up, man.
Yeah, I bet. That's
but
funny.
That vision takes a lot out of it, man. Yeah, I could imagine that if the lights go out. No, thank you.
No, it'd be pretty fucked up.
Now, your tomahawk, you shaved the back of this off, right?
Yeah, I cut that off. Two big reasons, right? Number one, so if you look at axes throughout history, there are some spikes. They really don't show up. Well, there's two periods in time where the spikes start to really show up. Number one would be when there's armor involved. You can't chop through plate armor or a helmet with an axe, despite what fucking Game of Thrones might tell you. Steel plate is or even chainmail, you're not cutting through it. It's not gonna happen. Percussively, like you can slam on shit, but you might punch through it, and you can definitely jam a spike through gaps in armor. So that's kind of like benefit of the spike number one. And then in the colonial period in America, spikes start to come back in the Northeast woodlands, but that's because a lot of the natives were asking for shit like that. They would go to some French fucking fur trapper with a forge, who was like, well, I'll sell you, I'll give you these 10 trade axes for, these pelts. They would bring them something made out of natural materials, stone or bone or something like that, and be like, make this, but steel.
Mhm.
And so a lot of those designs came from, their input. And then you start to see spikes again there. Basically, the rest of history where you see axes, you don't see spikes. You don't see the double-bladed axe. That's not real. Those were ceremonially used in a couple of ways, but that's the two-handed, hewing with both sides axe thing. It's fucking made up. That's Hollywood. I found two things in Dog Brothers fight. I wasn't really using it much. Occasionally I was spinning it around to hit with that, but why? That was part of my thing, was like, why? I mean, I have my fighting edge here. It gets hung up sometimes, but the other thing is, if you were in any kind of a press, it's going to go right back into you. It's dangerous to you as well. If I was wearing fucking full plate armor, it's less dangerous to me. But I'm not. And so that spike is dangerous to me. With this, that spike is much less dangerous to me. This is rounded like that.
Yeah.
So I can use the spike to hook and drag, to rip, to tear a guy down, whatever. But if we're fighting in close and I get it jammed up in here, I'm not stabbing myself. Same thing with this one. I'm not stabbing myself. The issue with these is you don't want to hook yourself in the fucking shoulder blade. So part of how we're fighting with these is tighter. We're using tighter motions. We're not reaching back and pulling forward like this as much. It's more.
I got you.
But with this thing, I'm calling it pecking motions instead of a jab. Same idea, where it's going out and coming back. These pecks, I mean, I processed a pumpkin with one of these back at Halloween. Oh man, it was pulling chunks off this thing. Like, you would definitely not want like one or two hits with this if the person wasn't trying to kill you. If they were just trying to dissuade you, like if you took one or two to the face, it would be bad news. You wouldn't enjoy it. But yeah, so that's part of why I cut my spike off, is that in grapples or closing in or whatever, like, you're super likely to get hit with it back. And then it's relatively historical to have one without a spike. Like, if I were gonna fight with an axe, I wouldn't want a big spike on the back. Like for example, like my this would be my, if I had to like fend off the barbarian horde from the door right now, my axe doesn't have it's pretty fucking close. You know what I mean? They're pretty similar. I don't have a spike on the back. Kaju Dog actually carved me this handle. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, but historically, an axe is going to be pretty close to this, Yeah. So it made sense to me to cut it off, and I've just done it that way since. Some guys have followed suit, some guys haven't. I mean, you can get to where you can use that spike really effectively. You know what I mean? Like, you could flip your hand and pull your opponent's weapon offline and then jab forward. You know what I mean? Pull it offline with the spike and then jab forward with the point on the front of your axe. Like, one thing people forget about, if you look, I don't know if you can really see how chewed up the edge on my axe is, but the very point of it up here is all kind of banged in a little bit because I thrust with it all the time. If you took like this and thrusted someone in the face, that's pretty, it would be more of a gouge than a real stab, but that's effective.
Oh yeah.
you couldn't you wouldn't get much penetration if you thrusted somebody in the body with it, but you get some. I mean,
Yeah.
wouldn't feel good. Definitely
No,
wouldn't feel good.
like a meat hammer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Have you ever played with the Gunstock War Club?
I have not. I've seen them and they're pretty cool. It's very Last of the Mohicans, but I haven't had occasion to mess with one myself.
So I have, and
Okay.
I got the one that's made out of the propylene plastic,
Yeah.
and the short end of it where it hooks, the amount of force you can generate. I've taken hunks out of trees, like just going bah with that. And my boss had a pallet in the back, and I had just gotten this thing, and I was like, well, how hard can I smash this? And probably in about like 4 strikes, that pallet was like split in half, like nothing.
Damn. That's
You know,
awesome.
just
Yeah.
because the way that curve is, like where it would be like, here
Yeah.
for the stock, because it's just, dude, it just generates a lot of nasty force that I
Hmm.
was like, oh, if Matt hasn't played with one, Matt should play with one.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have to get myself one of those things.
I'll send you the link.
Okay.
It was probably $30 well spent, and it's a nice hefty, and it's got like a triangle spike on the end. You do have to be careful with that.
Yeah, I've seen that. Can you take that off?
I
Can you
believe so,
remove it?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it comes with like a sheath on it, but I've unwittingly in cocking it back, stuck my bicep. I was like, okay, it went right through the sheath. That shit is sharp.
Yeah.
It's a well-made weapon. It's a live weapon for being plastic. That's definitely not something. I don't think you would see that in a gathering, just because when you get a feel of just how nasty of a melee weapon it
Oh
is,
yeah.
it's you guys would have to like be powder puffs with it. Like, here we go.
Yeah.
Because you'd really hurt somebody with that. But definitely something to play with, brother.
I'll have to
Definitely.
check it out. Yeah, I mean that, Cold Steel makes some of those things with that impact grade polypropylene really sturdy. Like I could definitely use my buckler as a buckler against a live sword for sure. At least for a little while. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how, and it's probably, I assume those are heavier than a real buckler by probably a factor of like 3 or 4. Just being made out of that impact grade polypropylene stuff, how thick it is. But I have to imagine something the size and shape of the Gunstock War Club would be just as thick, and like that's probably as legitimate of a weapon as it is anything else. You know what I mean? Like I'd almost say the polypropylene one might be better than a fucking wooden one because it's not going to split.
I would agree, and I'm going to let you know right now. It's at Midway for $23.79. I just sent you the link.
Oh, all right.
That's the same one that I got. It's actually Cold Steel. Cold Steel makes this.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that it was a Cold Steel deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
that
I'm my second one now.
that thing, you're right. It's so affordable. Yeah, that's a pretty savage implement, man. When you look at it and you kind of think about the geometry of that thing and where the impact points are, even without that, I mean, that spike makes it just fucking over the top. But if you look at that thing just based on the geometry of the points or the corners or whatever you want to call them, that's serious, man.
Yeah.
That's fucking serious.
It moves nicer than you think it would. It's a little unwieldy looking, but once you kind of play with it for like a few seconds, you're like, as one of my teachers told me, he goes, you have to introduce yourself to the weapon, and the weapon will tell you how it wants to move.
Oh, okay.
How it doesn't want to move,
Yeah.
And I like the shoulder stock because it's got like, you just thrust that in somebody's neck, like bah.
Well, it definitely seems like something that could be without that spike. The spike makes it just instantly a fucking lethal weapon. But without that on there, I mean, that looks like something that you could almost control the level of lethality you want to go with. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
you could turn it into, making fucking brain soup pretty fast, but you also, it seems like there's some control points. You could choke up on it and use it in a couple of different ways. It's very Klingon looking,
Yeah.
you
My
know?
my understanding is you have this short end and you swing like this and you drag with the spike at the other end.
Uh-huh.
Or you roll it like this and you hit with the spike.
Right. Yeah, it seems like you could kind of, in close quarters, sort of brace it off your shoulder and strike with the spike that way.
Yep.
It's a nasty looking piece of work, man. I'm gonna have to get myself one of those things.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what you come up with that.
Oh yeah, I'll start playing with it right away, and then there'll be a Gunstock War Club class at some point. Um, I'm definitely gearing up for. I'm gonna do a tomahawk, and I want to do a buckler class as well.
Okay.
Those are in the works. I got some more stuff to work through in terms of the single stick, but I also have like I have what fucking say nine people that have been fairly regularly tuning in, and I have a couple of guys that are brand new, like just learning Filipino martial arts stuff, that, oh, this is 2-3 years worth of training for them. You know what I mean? So like I have a bunch of shit now to show new people and to build people from nothing. But now I want to be giving interesting stuff. What I would assume, all of this stuff that we talked about today and the stuff that we've worked on up to now is at least a little different from how you've learned. I know because we've talked about it, but even for other people, even for guys that have the Dog Brothers in the background or Pakiti or whatever, I hope this stuff is at least a little bit different for them.
Oh yeah.
And it seems like it is. People seem pretty positive about what they're learning, but I also want to add, I put the knife and the tomahawk on my logo because those are two things that I want to include. You know what I mean? Like I want that to be part of my curriculum. The knife stuff, I'm still kind of wrestling with exactly how I want to broach just the knife. It's probably going to be in a dueling context. I have a bunch of Libre influence, so that's going to come into play. But I'm not teaching people sentry removal and fucking, we're not clearing a house where we might have to take out some guy who grabs your rifle, kind of like that's all the theoretical Libre shit. Like, all right, man, like in the end, you're teaching murder. So I'm into, listen, I'm into it. I fucking have 6 of Scott's DVDs. I went through the first level of distance program. The only reason I'm not doing his fucking Libre Fighting Guild thing is he kind of pissed me off. He let me start the distance learning program and then discontinued it within, it was like less than a year because he had been working on this guild thing the whole time. He could have fucking told me that. Like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to can this program. Like I'm in the process. He was already working on the guild stuff. And I was like, so where does that put me? He's like, well, just get the guild initiation package. And I was like, yeah, fuck off, dude. Like, you're just trying to resell me a bunch of prepackaged shit. Like, all right, fine, whatever. So I have trained at least the whole level 1 of the distance learning program. We had Libre Boston for a while, and then just we all moved away at various points. There were 3 of us that were pretty serious, and then we had a couple other guys jumping in. I had a couple of those guys in my group, my Dog Brothers group back home, but then just we all kind of dissolved, so there isn't a Libre Boston anymore. But I did a lot of it for a while, but it's also like that's a primal possibility kind of art. Like you don't need to be that sophisticated beyond learning the initial reactions to things. Like they do this set of material called the 5-pack, which if you've ever done knife tapping and Filipino stuff or kind of the hubad style things, it's a lot of just slamming forearms and passing and blocking and like I'll thrust to your neck, you block, I pass it and thrust. And they do it with a certain attitude and they do it with a certain forward momentum and all this stuff. But like, once you've drilled in the basic stuff and you kind of muscle memory the basic stuff, everything past that is just sophisticated murder. It's just a bunch of targeting and stuff like that. There's concepts that are really good. Attacking the eyes, because of the nature of how Libre came about and Ed Calderon coming on the scene very, very early. So like he has come onto like the internet in the last few years. But he's been involved in Libre. He's in the first fucking video, dude. That guy is actually like legit in a lot of ways. People shit on him in other ways for different things, but hey man, he's taking his experience, he branded it, and he's making a living off of it. So anybody that doesn't like it can eat shit, basically. But within the Libre world, Ed is a big part of the evolution of things because he's a crazy fucking Mexican. He was in his early 20s and he was working in an environment where he was actually fighting people. He would train this stuff, go down there and show it to his guys, and they would go try and use it immediately. Like, you're not talking about the same environment that a lot of Americans that are learning this stuff. These guys went out there and were like, all right, I'm gonna stab a motherfucker in the eye today. Like when shit goes down, which it's bound to eventually, like I'm gonna shank somebody in the eye. And turns out works real good. Pretty much ends a fight almost immediately, most of the time. Then they had a guy who did it to a guy who was all hopped up on drugs and it didn't stop him. And they were like, oh shit. So, oh yeah, maybe all those follow-ups become a little bit more necessary when you have someone who doesn't stop. So it's all very circumstantial. I'm not taking responsibility for teaching it to fucking anybody, man. Like, I wasn't in charge of Libre Boston. Jess was. It was all on her, whether people were fucking psychos or not. But I'm not teaching that. If you want to learn that, I'll say, hey, this is Scott Babb. He made it up. You go to him. You know what I mean? Like, it's been utilized in Mexico and in the Philippines. So now it's all over Mexico. I mean, there's a bunch of guys in several cities teaching it at high level and getting it out there to different people. But then in the Philippines, Red Wolf Tactical, I think, is the name of the Kali group that does it. But there's a group in the Philippines that does it, and they teach it to military guys and other guys as well. That's the other side of Libre, is like there's people happily selling it to criminals. Like there's people happily selling it to people that shouldn't. And like there's a guy in Pennsylvania that I have some big fucking personal issues with that uses the Libre tag, but he was kicked out of the Libre circles and fucking Operation Werewolf for various things. But he a few years ago, so the guy's like, he goes by Doc Black Market Strength and Conditioning, Black Market Shiv Maker, stuff like that. And he's on like version 3 or 4 of his Instagram because I think he keeps getting booted. But a few years ago, we had been in contact and he wanted me to come do, he was having this event. He called it Burpees, Blades, and Brotherhood. So he's big into like body weight fitness, does a lot of burpees and push-ups and bullshit like that. He does bullshit burpees, by the way. If you don't jump, it's not a burpee. Fuck you. He'll do like a 60-minute AMRAP. Be like, I did 625 burpees. I'm like, you didn't even do one. Fuck face. But So he sent me, he wanted me to be a part of this, and I was all fired up for it. And I was on the email list, and he sent an email out to the group that was like, all right, so we're going to meet in this area. Make sure you're not openly displaying any of your NS or WP gear. That's National Socialist or White Power gear. And all of a sudden, I was like, record skip. What? So I was like, are we using terminology? I don't know. It was like NSWP, and he was like, oh yeah. Any National Socialist or White Power gear, like make sure you got it off. Or if you ride up on your bike, make sure you cover any of that stuff. He's like, we don't want to draw attention to ourselves. And I was like, wait a minute. Are you trying to recruit me to teach some fucking Nazis about knives? Basically, and oh yeah, he had a 1488 up in his garage that I'd never noticed, and used a lot of the Sowilo rune, which when it's double, it's the SS. And I was like, oh, you fuck face. Like, you son of a bitch. So I was like, yeah, man, don't literally just drop it right now and don't contact me again. Like, we are not connected in any way, period. Boom. And anytime somebody I know tags him or pops up with something, I immediately am like, hey, I'll show you the email because I still have it, but like, this guy's a fucking Nazi. Like, I'm not using it in the colloquial sense. The people are using it now. Like, this is an actual white power asshole. I'm like, I don't want anybody I'm associated with to be associated with him. Like, he's gotten better. I think, like I said, he's on his 3rd or 4th Instagram account. I think he's realized like you can't put that stuff up there. But if you can read between the lines of the language that he uses, it's very disturbing to me. So I'm like, I'm not having that, dude. I'm not having it. I don't want any part in it. And I think other people, that was what got him kicked out of Operation Werewolf. They have some kind of white leanings, but those guys are very careful about not having any of that shit because they use a lot of the sort of Norse imagery and the black sun symbolism and stuff like that. They're careful about not having anything more white powery around. And I think that guy, they were like, nope, get away. Like, we're already borderline and you're not borderline. You go the fuck over there and you fucking stay there. I didn't realize when he was like burpees, blades, and brotherhood, it was white brotherhood. I was like, oh, fuck you, pal. You thought you were gonna trick me. I'm not fucking showing any of these psychos anything. You can all eat shit. Anyway, so I hear my dog has arisen and is starting to freak out on the other side of my door. So
no worries.
I think I'm gonna go. And Heather is also up.
Morning, Heather.
Nick says good morning.
Hi. Don't worry about I'm gonna take him to the barn.
I'm wrapping up here in 5 minutes. I'll be right there.
You wanna go?
No.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable. It's
Yeah.
cold. No,
Yeah.
No.
No, talk. I'm gonna leave.
All right.
I'll be back.
All right. You're gonna be back
I'll be
before I
back.
leave for work? All right.
Yeah. I'm just gonna feed and come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I love you. See you later.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Anyway, she's like, you want to go? I'm like, no, I'm in my sweats and I'm gonna make another pot of coffee. Oh, that's nice. Nice talk. Nice talk. You can tell we're from the East Coast. People here, like, we go at it. Actually, I say we go at each other. Heather gives me shit all the time in front of people, and like, they don't, like, the guys at work now get it. And I'm like, oh no, this is how we are all the time. Just over there going, pussy. Californians just don't understand. Oh shit. Well, I hope this stuff
No,
gave you some
definitely
things to
awesome.
think about. We're did I upload the other one and send you the link yet?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna do both of those now. Let's oh, Rascal is freaking out. Hold on.
Sorry, I need his pants first.
Come here, buddy. Oh, Mr. Rascal. Oh, he's having a meltdown. He's freaking out. Oh. All right. Yeah, man, I hope that stuff was good. I will send you the a picture of the notes, and then I'll send you the here you go, the YouTube links.
Are you ready?
See you in a couple hours or less.
Probably less.
All right.
Eh.
Bye, bud. Have fun at the barn. Have fun at the barn. All right. Anyway, all right, dude. Have a good Friday. Friday is not my Friday. Friday is my Thursday. Saturday is my Friday. So this is Thursday for me. But anyway,
Listen,
man.
I appreciate the time and I appreciate the knowledge, brother. Thank you
Fuck
very
yeah,
much.
dude. Take it easy, man.
Brother, be well. I'll speak to you soon.
Later.